New York Times contacted me and said, since you know all the people and you know what's involved, would you help us write a story and get the story going with the New York Times? And I did. And as a result of that, it wound up that I started writing as a freelancer for the New York Times. I wrote 35 articles in all for the New York Times on very diverse subjects: medicine, sports, picking the right school superintendent, too many bars in the neighborhood. We did an article on a young woman who was born perfectly normal, and as a baby at 6 months old, they gave her a DPT shot, diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus, and she was one of the few children that got a very rare reaction to it, and so she couldn't talk and she couldn't walk anymore. And her father and mother called me at the New York Times and asked if I would do a story about her, so they'd have money to go on a trip to Chicago, where they were going to do experimental surgery with her. And the physician that was doing the surgery, I had to speak to him and talk to him, and he gave a description of the whole operation to me. And I don't really know medicine, but it was fascinating. And as a result of it, she was able to talk for a little while, and then unfortunately at the age of 16 she passed. But it was very rewarding. All the articles in the Times were. Mm-hmm. The initial time when I was doing the freelance writing for the newspaper was relatively easy because I could do all the work at home, and one day a week I had to go. They did things differently then. You had paste up. In other words, you didn't do it on a computer. You went into a studio, and they would have articles, papers, and you would have to put the picture where you wanted it, write the picture caption, and get the copy to run around the picture. And it was fascinating, but that they don't do that anymore. One of the interesting things is, as I progressed at the Times, was no longer submitting an article by either over the phone or I should say in the mail. What you did was you called the desk, and you would read the article exactly as you wanted it to appear. And you'd say, the girl said, comma, quote, how are you? End of quote. And you had to do all of that into a machine, and then they would read the article back to you. And that was an advance in journalism.
Mm-hmm.